your subconscious.
Okay, now what are the stages of life?
Okay, very good. I've capsulated life into about 6 stages. The first stage is when you are between when you are born and when you are 7 years old. That's when you are in the impressionability phase of life. It's based on you see life based on what you see, the kind of household you grew up in, the kind of surroundings that you grew up in. That's what you see. That's why children can learn a language, 3 languages between their between the when they are born and when they are 7. That's why children learn things quickly. The next phase of life is the analysis and logic stage of life. At that point, children have an alpha beta brainwave, where their brainwave is a brainwave of trying to rationalize things and understand things. Then that's between the ages of 7 and 12. Now, between the ages of 13 and 19 is the emotive phase of life. Because as a teenager, you are producing more estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. So you are more emotive. That's why children at that age, teenagers, become more attracted to things like fast driving, loud clothes, loud friends, unprotected or protected sex, and things like that, loud parties and all that, peer pressure and all that, because they are in the emotive phase of life. That's stage 3. Stage 4 is when you're in your 20s. That's your discovery phase of life. You begin to discover who you really are. Bill Gates started Microsoft in his 20s. Steve Jobs started Apple in his 20s. Michael Jackson released Thriller in his 20s. Yeah, most successful album. That's where you really discover who you are. You launch out. Now, stage 5. In your 20s is your discovery phase. You discover really who you are. Stage 5, your 30s, is where you establish yourself and consolidate. That's when you establish yourself. So, if you look at some key Nigerians, for Atedo Peter started a bank in his 30s. Ige Mokwede became CEO of Access in his 30s. A couple of them, they established themselves in their 30s, that I'm here to stay. This is who I am, they spread out their wings in their 30s. The establishment phase of life. Bill Gates became a billionaire at 31. That's the establishment. That's not the place where you are discovering yourself. You are now establishing yourself. That's this phase, 5th phase. The same thing with Steve Jobs. He established himself in his 30s. They discovered themselves in their 20s, but established themselves in their 30s. Now, but let me say this. Guess what? The first phase of life is what? I called it impressionability and creativity phase of life. If you don't maximize that phase, when you get to the logic and reasoning phase of life, it will affect your ability to reason and logic effectively because the foundation is weak. The second phase is the logic phase. If you don't master it or maximize that phase, when you get to your emotive phase, your emotions will master you. Your emotions will rule you in life. And that's why some people destroy themselves, because they can't control their emotions. Their emotions control them. Yeah, because they didn't do what they were supposed to do in stage 1 and stage 2.
Which is the emotion part.
No. Stage 1 is impressionability and creativity. Because they didn't maximize that phase, stage 2 will become faulty, logic and reasoning. When logic and reasoning is faulty, stage 3, emotional phase of life, they will have issues and problems. Now, stage 4, discovery, they will have problems discovering themselves because the previous level, the emotive phase of life, was faulty. Now, when people have problems in stage 4, discovery, when they get to stage 5, where they should establish themselves, they will have problems establishing themselves.
Look at their emotions.
Yeah. They'll have problems with this establishment because the discovery phase of life was weak. Now, stage 6 is the stage of what? Replication, where you are now mentoring people. You are now pouring yourself into people and you are producing your kind. So you are handing over to the next generation. You are producing other people. So is a great footballer mentoring other footballers as a coach. It is a CEO creating other CEOs. Do you understand? If you look at Pep Guardiola now, you see how he has influenced people like Arteta. You see how he has influenced people like Michael Company. These people are successful coaches in their own right, but he groomed them. Do you understand? Now, that is what you do at that other phase, next phase of life, where you are replicating yourself in people. There are so many people, CEOs who have done it. Peter Thiel mentored Elon Musk and 2 other people who became billionaires as well. Do you understand? Dan Lok mentored 26 people who became billionaires, including Grant Cardone, who is a real estate billionaire in America.
Dan Lok, they mentored Grant Cardone.
Yeah. Dan Penier, sorry. Dan Penier, Dan Penier, who wrote the first 1 million.
Because
Sorry.
he's one that mentored Dan Lok.
Yeah, okay, yes, okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Continue.
Yeah. So those are the phases. That's the final phase where you are now replicating yourself. Now, in life, some people may not have been able to discover themselves in their 20s. The beauty of life is that whatever you can't do in your 20s, you can do in your 30s. It may be a bit more difficult, but you can do it. So you see that some people never discover themselves in their 20s, but in their 30s, they discover that event planning is who I am. And they started event planning in their 30s. Some of them even established themselves in their 30s. And in their 40s, you see that they are now mentoring and replicating themselves. Some people never discover themselves. Look at Morgan Freeman, one of the greatest Hollywood icons. He didn't break out until he got into his 50s. Samuel Jackson, one of the greatest Hollywood actors, didn't succeed until he was in his 40s. Steve Harvey, America's most successful comedian, did not succeed until he was in his 30s, 40s. Do you understand? So the beauty of life is that even if you miss out on some of those phases, you can reclaim and recapture those phases in later phases of life. That's the beauty of life. You can reclaim those later phases.
Is it possible to be established on the wrong thing?
Of course not. It's just that it will eventually crash. Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
So now, can you discuss the law of fairness?
Fairness, yeah. You see, most people will say life is not fair. I've heard most people say that, and they are making a big mistake. That's one of the biggest lies anybody can believe. If you believe that life is not fair, life will be unfair to you. In fact, because when you believe that life is not fair, that's the mentality you have. Your thoughts will attract unfairness to you. That's the way it works. But when you believe that life is actually fair, and let me show you. See, there is no circumstance in life that doesn't carry advantage. I'm telling you, if you grow up in a war zone, some of the most successful people in life, grew up in war zones. Guess what? You will say, life is not fair. They grew up in war zones and they were peaceful nations like Singapore and this and that. But guess what? Those people will tell you that it was growing up in those war zones that gave them the determination to succeed that they have. Let me tell you something. Everything in life carries advantage and disadvantage. If you grow up in a wealthy household, be careful. It can make you become very entitled. It can make you become very complacent. Everything in life carries advantage and disadvantage. But guess what? You see, listen to me. You say life is not fair. A lot of people admire the serpent. The serpent can perceive things from a distance. But they don't know that all snakes are deaf. Snakes cannot hear you. But because the snake is deaf, its perception is very sharp.
Very sharp.
So whatever you lack in an area, you possess in other areas. That's why life is equally fair. You say some nations are very hot. Very good. They are very, very hot. Do you understand? But guess what? Those nations can transit to solar energy faster than other nations. Now, have you noticed that the countries that are being destroyed by climate change, typhoons, hurricanes, are more of the industrialized nations than the third world nations? Now, the disadvantage we had that they said was a disadvantage, that we're not industrialized, because of their industrialization and their fossil fuels and carbon emissions, their ozone layer and their climate is eroding faster. And that's why you have more natural disasters in those areas than these areas. So what industrialization has helped them to an advantage, but is now their disadvantage in the degradation of the planet. It's affecting them more. And do you understand? So in life, you must see that there are advantages in disadvantages and disadvantages in advantages. And in that, life is fair. What you need to now do is to pivot and say, okay, guess I'll share 2 more examples with you. Michael Phelps, the greatest Olympian of all time. His body is strange. His upper body appears longer than his lower body. But you know what? He says that's a disadvantage for a footballer, but it's an advantage for a swimmer. Because my hands are longer, I can navigate faster. Do you understand? So, you see, it's about pivoting. My friend Cobhams was born blind, but his ears were unusually sharp. He became a music producer. Today, he's one of the most successful music producers in Nigeria. He could have said life is not fair. Why was I born blind? But when you look at it on the surface, life is not fair. But as you go deeper, you see that life is fair. So one of the biggest mistakes, and that's what destroys people ab initio. Destroys people ab initio. Let me tell you something. It's good to be beautiful. But beauty comes with its distractions. So beauty carries disadvantages. That you walk into a place, people will not allow you to rest. Do you understand? It's because when you are not, so when we say I'm not that beautiful, but it allows you to focus more. The attention is not on you like other people. So it allows you to even focus more, not to get as distracted as those who appear to be, you know. Have you noticed that? You see, the Bible says something. It says there are 3 things that are little upon the earth, but they are exceeding wise.
Yes.
Now, there are 4 things. They are little, but they are exceeding wise. Now, the ants could have said, life is not fair. Why are we? But the fact that they are very little means that in the invisible, what they have, what they lack in physical structure, they make up for it in intellect. Do you know that as your body mass increases, your brain size shrinks? As your body mass increases, your brain size shrinks. So people who are large, good, but their brain size will shrink as they increase. Those who are born little, they have the advantage of a larger brain. Do you understand how it works? So life is fair. Life is fair. And if you are grateful to the universe would reward you for your gratitude.
Wow. How can you differentiate between the stages of life and the rules of life? Are they the same?
They can't be the same.
Okay,
there are many rules of life. There are many rules of life. I shared one with you last time that we came. I said that, you see, for you to enjoy life, you must find what you are willing to die for. And to find what you are willing to die for, you must die to pleasure. That's one of the rules. If you see, the Cristiano Ronaldo today is enjoying his life as a footballer, but he died to pleasure. He stopped taking coke, sugar, all those things. Sacrifice. He died to pleasure. Yeah.
Taking coke, sugar.
Yeah. He died to pleasure. Do you understand? It has nothing to do with the stages of life, per se. It's a rule, and there are different rules. There are rules to social relations. There are rules to managing your finances. There are rules to building your brain, your intelligence. There are different rules. Do you understand? So that's it as regards the rules of life. Yeah.
Okay, so to round it up, so what are your final words on it?
Final words.
Yes.
There's something I want to say to people. You know, we live in a world now where people are chasing money and material things, and people, you know, but that's one of the ways to have a miserable life. Miserable life. One mistake people are making in life today that's going to make humanity more miserable if they are not careful is that we chase material things to senseless proportions. A lot of people are really, it's just about money, 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 money. If you say that a particular line of business is booming now, people will leave what they are doing and start going into that line of business. So people are not looking for purpose anymore. They are looking for just the material things, money. You see, don't chase money, chase mastery, and you will enjoy both of them. You see, when you see the kind of people that have committed suicide in the last 5 years, I'll mention 10 years. I'll mention 5 of them for to you. Robin Williams, wealthy Hollywood actor. Chester Bennington, multi-platinum selling singer of Linkin Park. Anthony Bourdain, CNN celebrity chef. These people were wealthy, all wealthy. Huh? Some of them but committed suicide. Why? Because it shows you the futility of just material things. But if you find what you are, Tony Zish of the Zappos, if you find what you are good at, what you are created for, you see, you can't be a master at a thing and be poor. So don't chase money. And you see, when you chase mastery, you not only get the money, but you get the fulfillment. And those are my final words.
Thank you very much. So, guys, thank our guest, Mr. Adekomi, for this very powerful, inspiring one as well. So, if you want to know more about him, I will link the first 2 interviews we did, and more about him is in this interview. And also, if you want to contact him, Mr. Adekomi, maybe you can share how they can be able to reach out to you more.
You can hit me up on Instagram at Olusonya Adekomi. You can even send me a DM if you want to. Yeah, that should be okay. I have a YouTube channel as well, and I'm sure he will. Adekomi Olusonya is my YouTube channel, so you can also watch videos and comment on them. Thank you very much.